The town of Red Hollow had long stopped whispering when Eliza Hart passed by. They stared openly now, as if daring misfortune to strike them next. Once she'd been known for her quiet kindness, the woman who stitched blankets for newborns and left food at doorsteps without asking for thanks. But time and tragedy had reshaped her into something the town barely recognized. Her first husband, Daniel, had died in a sudden horse accident just months after their wedding. The second, Thomas, fell ill with a fever that swept through the valley, but only he never recovered. By the time her third husband, a gentle blacksmith named Caleb, was found lifeless in his workshop under strange circumstances, the town had already decided Eliza Hart was cursed. People stopped greeting her. Shopkeepers hesitated before taking her coins. Mothers pulled their children closer when she walked by. It didn't matter that no one could prove anything. It was easier to blame her than to accept that life could be cruel without reason. Eliza carried that weight silently. Every morning she rose before dawn, tending to the small patch of land left behind by her last husband. She spoke to no one, not because she had nothing to say, but because no one cared to listen. Loneliness became her shadow, following her through every empty room and every sleepless night. Then one afternoon a stranger rode into town. He wasn't like the others. Tall, composed, with a presence that commanded attention without asking for it. His name was Alexander Cole, a wealthy ranch owner from the neighboring county. He had heard stories about Red Hollow, but he wasn't interested in gossip. He came for land deals until he saw her. Eliza stood at the far edge of the market buying flour. People kept their distance, as always. But Alexander noticed something no one else seemed to see anymore. The quiet dignity in the way she carried herself, the strength hidden beneath the weight of judgment. "Why does everyone avoid her?" he asked a shopkeeper. The man scoffed. "You must be new. That woman, trouble follows her. 3 husbands dead. If you value your life, stay far away." Alexander didn't respond. Instead, he watched Eliza a moment longer, and then walked straight toward her. The entire market seemed to hold its breath. Eliza noticed him before he spoke. Men didn't approach her anymore, especially not strangers. With confident strides and steady eyes. "You dropped this," Alexander said, holding out a small cloth pouch. She blinked, confused. "That's not mine." "Then maybe it should be," he replied, a faint smile touching his lips. It was the first time in years someone had spoken to her without fear or suspicion. She didn't know how to respond. "I know who you are," he continued, his tone calm. "Or at least I know what people say." Eliza stiffened. "Then you should walk away. I don't believe in curses." His words were simple, but they carried a weight she wasn't prepared for. People didn't question the rumors. They accepted them. But here stood a man who dismissed them entirely. Over the following days, Alexander found reasons to stay in Red Hollow longer than necessary. He visited her farm under the excuse of purchasing land nearby. He helped repair a broken fence without being asked. He spoke to her as if she were just another person, not a warning, not a tragedy, not a story. And slowly, something within Eliza began to shift. "You shouldn't keep coming here," she told him one evening as the sun dipped below the horizon. "People will talk." "They already do," he said. "Let them." "It's not just talk," she insisted, her voice trembling slightly. "Everyone who's been close to me, they don't last." Alexander studied her carefully. "Do you believe that?" She hesitated. For the first time, she didn't have an answer. The rumors spread quickly. The wealthy cowboy, the cursed widow. People laughed at first. Then they warned him. Then they tried to stop him. But Alexander Cole was not a man easily swayed. One morning, in front of half the town, he did the unthinkable. He proposed Eliza Hart. He said, his voice steady, "I don't see a curse. I see a woman who has endured more than most could survive. And I'd be honored if you'd marry me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Eliza felt the world tilt beneath her feet. "You don't understand what you're saying." "I understand perfectly," he replied. "And if there's any truth to these stories—" He paused, a faint, defiant smile forming. "Then I suppose I'll be the 4th." The town erupted in outrage. "You're a fool!" Someone shouted. "You're signing your own death." Another yelled. But Alexander didn't flinch. Eliza's heart raced. Fear clawed at her chest, but so did something else. Hope. Dangerous. Fragile hope. "I can't lose another person," she whispered. "You won't lose me," he said quietly. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she believed him. Marriage did not silence the whispers. If anything, it made them louder. Every creak in the night, every delayed return from the ranch, every cough or stumble, people watched, waiting for history to repeat itself. But Alexander remained strong, unwavering, until the accidents began. A loose saddle strap, a spooked horse, a near-fatal fall during a storm. Each incident was small on its own, but together they painted a terrifying pattern. Eliza's fear returned stronger than ever. "It's happening again," she said, her voice shaking. "I told you." But Alexander wasn't convinced. "This isn't a curse," he said firmly. "This is something else." Determined to uncover the truth, he began investigating the past deaths. What he found changed everything. Each of Eliza's husbands had been involved in land disputes. Each had refused to sell their property, and now Alexander owned more land than any of them ever had. Someone wasn't targeting Eliza. They were targeting her husbands. The truth came to light on a stormy night. A man from town, respected, trusted, had orchestrated everything. He had been quietly buying land for years, eliminating anyone who stood in his way. Eliza's husbands weren't victims of a curse. They were victims of greed. And now Alexander was next. But this time things were different. Alexander was ready. With evidence in hand, he confronted the man publicly, exposing years of manipulation and murder. The town watched in stunned silence as the truth unraveled. Eliza stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. All those years, all that guilt, all that pain, it had never been her fault. The man was arrested. The lies collapsed. And for the first time in years, the town looked at Eliza not with fear, but with shame. "I'm sorry," one woman whispered. Eliza didn't respond. She didn't need to. She had something far more powerful now, freedom. And beside her stood the man who had seen the truth from the beginning. "You were never cursed," Alexander said softly. Eliza took his hand, her voice steady at last. "No, I was just waiting for someone brave enough to see it." As the sun rose over Red Hollow, the whispers finally faded. Not because the story ended, but because at last it had been told correctly.